Hey, welcome to Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Second hour of the show.
A lot of people call it the best hour.
Well,
saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mondays with Meghan every Monday at 5 o'clock. Meghan McCain joins us on KTAR. Meghan, how are you? Welcome back to the show in 2025.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Hey, now I'm upset.
He gets upset with that. I should have
way
told
too
you,
late
Meghan.
for Happy New Year, Meghan.
You only get it for like the
Meghan,
first 72 hours.
It's the 13th. There's no more Happy New Year.
There's nothing happy about it.
Sorry.
I just haven't talked to you since New Year.
Fair enough. And we didn't talk to you last week.
With you.
We didn't talk to you last week because it was snow days for the kids.
Oh, in D.C.,
that's right. It was literally like it blizzarded so crazy here. And I was like, obviously, our babysitter couldn't come and my daughter's school was canceled. So trust me, what was happening, you guys did not want to hear.
So, Meghan, interesting looking at your tweets, and it deals with the L.A. fires.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't we start there?
Sure.
One of your interesting tweets. Why don't I just read it? Here's the quote.
Sure.
Here's the tweet. People who leave California for another state because California is an untenable mess would bring their progressive politics with them is something I can tell you from my friends in Arizona is a big source of confusion and frustration for people. So why tweet that, and what are you thinking?
Well, first, I have a bunch of friends, including my co-host, who had to evacuate this past week, and it's been really just hell for so many people I love and, people I don't know. It's obviously been hell, and you look at, the Pacific Palisades, and it just looks horrific, and it's really even hard to sort of like fathom how bad the destruction is. So my thoughts and prayers and just, everything I can possibly feel for Los Angeles is going to those people. And I feel terrible for everyone there because it's just, it's a tragedy, all of it. I think what I was saying is I remember I went home to Arizona last summer, and one of my girlfriends who lives in Maricopa County had a bumper sticker that said, don't California my Arizona, or something like that. Like, don't bring California to Arizona. Yeah. And in Maricopa County, as I'm sure you guys know, it's like much more blue than it used to be. And there is no small factor that it's from a lot of people moving from California to Arizona and, not necessarily becoming more conservative, even though they left California. Now, there's a lot of other reasons Arizona has turned blue as well. Can't just be blamed on that.
Sure.
And I think for me, if I had just had my house burned down, and a lot of people feel this way, and Karen, my mayor, were in Ghana, and I found out that the fire hydrants weren't working and that water reserves that could have been used to put out fires were drained and not used, that brush fire that, by the way, my sister-in-law, who worked for Kevin McCarthy, specifically wrote policy trying to get brush removed from California because of the fire hazard that they, and apparently a lot of insurance companies, saw coming, which is why they wouldn't insure the people of the Pacific Palisades for fire damage. And if I found out that my fire department's budget had been slashed by $17 million in the past year, and that the fire chief's number one priority was diversity and bringing, LGBT people and women to the fire force. I have no problem with women or LGBT people being in the fire force, but for me, if my house is on fire, I just want the most qualified person helping it stop. I'd be angry. And I just do think that, I have obviously compassion for everyone involved in any of the situations, but I do think, it's common and, it's my job to talk about the politics of the situation. I think when you're seeing people like Khloe Kardashian tweet that Karen Bass needs to step down, I honestly really believe that Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass's careers are ostensibly over as a result of all of this.
So again, we're talking to Meghan McCain. Mondays with Meghan, every Monday at 5 o'clock. Do you think there will be a shift in California politics? Will this be enough to sway it? California hasn't been a competitive state, electorally speaking, for quite some time. Is it something like this, a natural disaster of this scale and the response to it, that you think might push California back in the other direction?
I don't necessarily think like California is going to become a red state, but I think when you see people like Maria Shriver, who is, a Kennedy family legacy Democrat, tweeting that Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom and that the leadership in California is broken and not working. I actually think it'll probably be someone like her ex-husband, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think it'll probably be like a very independent, business-centric, probably low-tax, independent candidate. I do think, and again, this is just anecdotal in my life, but my good friends who live in LA, almost all of them are very liberal. And even they, at this point, I mean, my most progressive friend in my life who lives in West Hollywood, he was like, kick all the bums out. Same thing. Like, doesn't want to have anything to do with Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass again. And again, I don't know if that necessarily means Republican leadership, but I think it just means different leadership going forward because, you can't control the weather, obviously, but there are certain things that could happen that could have been put into place that would have, made the disaster a little less bad. And you don't need to take my word for it. You can take the fire chief's word for it on the press conference she gave 2 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that press conference that she gave, basically saying they cut our budget and it would have, budget cuts hampered the response. And they were understaffed for the last 3 years.
Well, we are at the blame storming phase of this, where everybody's pointing to the other guy did this,
I think you have to, because I think you have to find out, hey, could we have done a better job? Because
the answer to that is obviously yes.
Obviously, yes. I mean, it's a shameful display of leadership from the governor and the mayor. There's no doubt about it. And all the facts are kind of leading to that, to people to think that, right?
Yeah, look, the thing I don't understand, and again, like Republicans are very, we're like brutal. Like if you do one thing out of line, like look at Kevin McCarthy. They're going to come for your jugular and you're going to be out of a job.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't think people should be removed and be forced to quit and whatever when they are supposed to. But the thing I don't understand about some Democrats is if like my neighborhood had burned to the ground, I would like make it my life mission that Gavin Newsom never came anywhere near office again. And Democrats are much more forgiving of their leaders, which I always find like an interesting just sort of like cultural juxtaposition between the left and the right. But I do think this is going to be too much for people. The Pacific Palisades is like, and Malibu, which I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but it's like, gorgeous, most expensive real estate in America. Yeah. I just don't see people who lost, $140 million homes like taking this lying down, so to speak, if things could have been done. Not to mention all the innocent people who, are not millionaires and billionaires who've just had their lives devastated from them. Not to be like sort of ridiculous, but I grew up watching reality television, and Spencer and Heidi from the Hills had their house burned down, and watching them in real time tweet their way through having their lives destroyed has been really heartbreaking to watch.
We're talking to Meghan McCain once again. I do want to push back.
Sure.
We'll agree on some things and won't on others. My only issue with blaming politicians for natural disaster response, I didn't blame George Bush for Katrina either. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, you should have. Partly you should have.
Yeah, but I think on some level, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's only so much you can do. Hey, you're the one who wanted the job. You're the one that gets the big desk.
But Bush was late to the party. The governor did a bad job, and the mayor, remember in New Orleans, left all those buses, hundreds of buses, didn't go pick anybody up. I mean, you got to start blaming people.
Well, George Bush doesn't like black people, too, according to Kanye West. Remember when Kanye? Well, it turns out Kanye doesn't like black people anymore either, so we got that going for him. But
Meghan McCain is joining us on KTAR. Are you going to watch Biden's Wednesday address to the station? He's going away. What should he say? I'm not sure I'm watching.
I probably will end up watching clips on Twitter, but I will say, to your point, Bruce, politics is about policy and it's about leading, but it's also about signaling to people. And I think that one of the things that I found just like sort of heartbreaking recently about President Biden was when he was in California to addressing the people again who just lost their entire lives. Mm-hmm. And he said, but it's a good day for me because I am a great grandfather today. Right. And I was like, what is wrong with him? Right. If I had just had a baby that morning and I was addressing people who had lost their livelihoods, I probably wouldn't bring it up. And I think that sadly, and I really was rooting for Biden when he first got elected. I really was. His legacy is already cemented, and it doesn't really matter what he says. I mean, I hope he can get through it just sounding, strong and cogent just for the sake of, America. But sadly, this is done. And I don't think his legacy is going to be one that's going to be reflected on positively in history books. And, however you feel about him, people say he was the only person that could have beaten Trump. I personally think he's the only Democrat that could have lost to Trump. And I think he's done a lot of damage to the Democratic Party, and he's done a lot of damage just to America in general. And you guys know I'm not a Trump person. I'm never going to be a Trump person. I'm not happy to see him come in, but I just want anything to change. Maybe Trump will be chaotic and awful. There's certainly a high likelihood of that, but I have to move on from the Biden years, because for me personally, and just as every American, I'm just ready to move on.
Yeah. Mondays with Meghan McCain. Great to talk to you. We will discuss more politics next Monday. We'll see you then.
Thank you so much. And Bruce, you can disagree with me anytime.
I know you can handle it.
I don't take anything personally.
You and your dad can handle it.
So dumb.
I
used
used
to be like, that was a stupid point, McCain, and I'll be like, okay, tell me why.
Yeah, I did the same thing with your father and appreciated the back and forth, I promise.
I am not a delicate daisy.
That I'm aware. Yes. She can take it. Meghan, have a wonderful day. Stay warm.
Thank you. You too. Bye, guys.
All right. That's Meghan McCain.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Last two presidents, right? Two natural disasters. Trump goes to Puerto Rico, throws towels at people.
Oh, yeah. That's what they need.
Joe Biden goes to L.A., brags about how his grandson or granddaughter, by the way, he didn't know which one it was. He said both, was born. So can you clap for me now? Got to do better. Gavin Newsom, disaster. Mayor of L.A., hanging out in Africa while this thing is happening. We just have zero leadership, man. Yeah. Zero leadership, and it's. Well,
I wouldn't expect it to change. That's my only point.
Destroying America.
Unlike others, I am not disappointed or surprised in it because I don't have any trust or faith in them to begin with.
You're smart.
So I can't possibly be disappointed.
Yeah,
exactly. You can't fall off the floor.
You're starting out at they suck, and I expect nothing.
Idiots. Yeah. Why do I know they're idiots? They ran for the office to begin with.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.